Hi, I'm Tim from the Marathon Mates. On this episode, we are going for a trip down memory lane as we get to relive our very first marathon experiences. We'll talk about the reasons that led us to take on our first marathon, the training and planning that went into that event, and how we performed, as well as the emotions we experienced along the way. I'm pretty sure that none of us ever expected that after completing our very first marathons that we would back it up and complete many more marathons after that one, let alone then hosting a podcast like this or being on social media and all the other things that we get to do, being at expos and talking in front of people. So tonight we're going to share our experiences and hopefully we can inspire one or two of our listeners to maybe consider stepping up to a marathon distance next year, or at least going for their marathon, whether it's a half marathon or a 10-kilometer challenge next year. We love running and we love sharing our adventures of running around the world. We are the only podcast with 4 7-star world marathon major runners. And this is the Flying Runr Podcast. Are you ready to run? Let's go.
It's the Flying Runr. Run far, run free. Host the 7 stars, inclusive as can be. It's the Flying Runr for you and me.
Hi guys, and welcome to this week's episode. How are you guys going? Before we go much further, I've got to introduce you. I guess this is Tara, Tony, and Lucia this week. How are you guys going? How's your week been?
Oh, this week hasn't been a massive training. Well, sorry, last week wasn't a massive training week for me. Because in Sydney we've had incredibly hot weather, probably some of the hottest we've had in a while. So I just listened to the body, took it easy. Body was feeling a bit sluggish, but I think that's because I'm not drinking enough water. But yeah, no, overall, body's feeling good.
That wouldn't have coincided with the Ashes Test match as well, and watching the English lose another Test match, Lucia?
I may have been watching a lot of cricket lately, which is good. My family are glad when the Ashes finishes within the 5 days, because especially the day-night test, they've got no choice but to watch it.
Yeah. And Tony, how's your week been?
Not a great week. I had every intention to get out there and do some stuff. I felt good at the beginning of the week. But on Wednesday, and my back is just becoming too dodgy, right? So getting out of the car at work, my back went again. So, and it's only today that it really has started to loosen up enough for me to feel comfortable walking. So it's been it was a horrible weekend. I was in great pain all weekend. And so I haven't done much at all. And, it's really challenging from a mindset perspective because, as I said, I had every intention to get back into some running. We haven't done much since Amsterdam. And I'd mapped it out. I was going to do a midweek run and then a weekend run and then ultimately nothing. And Sharon subsequently has been doing nothing. So she's out in sympathy with me. But yeah, hopefully by the weekend I should be getting a run in. So we'll see how we go.
Cool. And Tara, how's your week been?
Well, probably the same as yours, Tim.
You've done more than me.
Done more than you, barely. This has been 3 weeks now of no long runs on a Sunday, so I sort of feel a little bit lost, to be entirely honest. It's a bit all over the shop. Christmas parties, Christmas time has just thrown everything out for us for long runs. Parkrun, we actually went to Bunyaville Parkrun, so our home parkrun. It was their 12th birthday on Saturday just been. So it was nice. We had lots and lots of the OG crew there. Nice to catch up with them. They are like family to us because they started their running journey at the same time we started our running journey. So we've all been really, really close together since that point in time because we've all started Bunyaville at the same time. I have got a bit of an update on the ChatGPT training, though, for you, Tony. One of my friends is actually doing her strength training for running by doing the ChatGPT startup. So I thought I'd just let you know that. But I've just done some midweek runs, midweek walks. back into my night nav, which I absolutely love doing. There's no speed about it. There's just a lot of fun with friends. So, yeah, I think, Tim, you're probably about the same with your running, aren't you?
Even less. I'm really fatigued at the moment with work and with just life in general, that I didn't do much in it at all. I just did a midweek 7K run really easy last week, or really comfortably, as Tony likes to remind me. And then just the park run, and that was it. And that was running, walking with you side by side. So very easy week, but again, it's more about listening to my body, and I'm maybe out in sympathy with you there, Tony, as well. I'm just really stuffed. It's the end of the year. I've had a busy year of work. I had a critical incident that occurred on site last week as well that I had to manage and deal with. It's just one of those years where you just get to the end of it and you're just glad to get to the end of it and just unwind at the Christmas holiday break to restart for next year. And I think that's where I'm at. So I just run when I feel like running now. I just get done what I need to get done. I'll probably go for a long run this weekend, but yeah, a bit like you, Tony, like what you were talking to me earlier about, I'm stiffening up. My body's getting a bit more sore. I wake up in the morning. And I think it's just that not having that routine, not having that regular running and stretching the muscles out every day, that they're just contracting in. I probably need to do a little bit more. I probably need to eat a little bit less as well. I'm putting on the weight again. But that's life at this time of year, isn't it, guys?
It certainly is. It certainly is. So Tim, we've had some comments on some of our socials and whatnot during the week, and one that I had to reach out to you guys for a little bit of help in respect of, someone suggested that we do the Dave Goggins challenge. Now, I think everyone knows who Dave Goggins is, but I had no idea he had a challenge out there. So, Tim, you did a bit of research, and Tara, I think, did some research on it. Tara. So what is the Dave Goggins challenge?
So the Dave Goggins challenge, I have heard of this one before. You had mentioned it to me, and as soon as you said, what's the Dave Goggins challenge, I'm like, there's no way in holy hell I'm doing that, was I think the nice way of putting what I wrote down to you. Tim, this is something Tim would be interested in. So the Dave Goggins challenge is 4 by 4 by 48. So it's 4 miles every 4 hours for 48. Sorry, 4 miles by every 4 hours by 48 hours. Yes. So it seems easy, but I think it would actually be a lot harder than that backyard ultras that you do. 4 miles in 4 hours is quite a distance, because I know that the terrain that he's putting that through is not probably going to be an easy terrain. He's doing Big's backyard as well this year, so I'm assuming it's probably going to be similar terrain to that. It hasn't been officially declared yet as to what the terrain is. It's in South Africa. So, yeah, look, those who have done, Comrades and the Big Five and all those races over there, they know how hard that terrain is. So I don't think it's something I would do. Tim, I think it's something that you would like as a challenge.
4 miles is only 6.7 kilometers or something like that. So 6.7 kilometers every 4 hours for 48 hours. It doesn't sound like a lot. I could handle that.
Lucia.
It would depend on the terrain and the course, because the fact that he's given that much time for such a small distance makes me think that it's going to be a brutal course.
Yep, it's going to have some elevation in there that you do not even want to know about, I reckon. He's a former Navy SEAL, and he's like the top of the world, or top of the top class of what he does. He runs bad water without even thinking about it. So there's not a chance in hell I'll do one of his challenges. They might sound easy, they're not.
Yes, it is certainly something that is not on my radar ever. So once again, I think I could probably go 6.7K for a couple of hours, but outside of that, I'm probably not going to look at that. Now, just 2 more comments. We've had a comment on our YouTube channel from a person that was watching our Navigating the Tokyo Marathon way back in episode 86, and they've got into the 2026 Tokyo lottery, and they're flying from Atlanta to do that. So they're pretty excited. They got a lot out of our episode, they tell us. But the one I want to really talk about, Mark Reeves reached out, and I shared this with Tim and the crew. And he's been watching us for a while, but he scored a place in Sydney. Well done, Mark. But he's also scored a place in the Cardiff Half, which is one of the super halves in Europe. Now, we've touched on the super halves in our podcast series. But Mark, if you're listening to this, reach out to us, because we'd love to know, or get someone from that side of the world to have a chat to us about what the super halves are all about. We've had people ask us questions about them here in Australia, so it'd be a great little thing. So keep those comments coming, people. We love them.
Yeah, 100%. And that reminds me, I will put that on the list of episodes to talk about next year, is a session or a couple of sessions around the super halves and what they all are, and maybe go into some more depth around them. So we might do a 2 or 3 part series on the super halves in Europe.
Sounds
because
good.
they are good. Now, I also have to apologize. I keep trying to straighten my shirt out, but if you look at my ASICS logo, it says ASS. So apologies to anyone who might be offended on my shirt at the moment, but just the way I'm sitting. So apologies for that. Now, the other one, Tony, I know it's been out. You've put it out in social media, but our Wrapped for Spotify came out this year, and we've had huge numbers of people listening to us from around the world. And I think it was 77,000 hours or minutes of listening.
Minutes, yeah.
Let's call it hours. What's the difference?
The one that really impressed me, Tim, was our show was in the top 10% of videos on Spotify. So, and I don't know whether to be impressed by that or whether to think that maybe Spotify is not being used for videos. But one or the other, I'm going to take the impress. I think that's pretty cool. So. We are in the top 10% of shows on Spotify for video, so I think that's awesome. So
we'll take that. We'll market it however we want to, but that's good. So all right, thanks guys. It's now that time of the week where we talk about the news. Tony, what's been happening around the world of running this week?
Well, there's been a fair bit happening, to be honest. And during the week, of course, we all jumped online at 9 o'clock to join the queue for the Gold Coast Marathon entry process. Now, I do believe, a little birdie told me, that some people had early access through things like running clubs and almost to legend status and whatnot. And so they didn't have to necessarily sit online at 9 o'clock. But over the last week, many runners did have to. Now, the process changed this year where they introduced a queuing process. So I wasn't overly concerned with my registration because I'm targeting the 10K event this year and not the half or the full. I knew the full and the half are always the ones that sell out. And I was pretty hopeful that by the time I'd finish work, I could still register in for the 10K. So it was just by chance that I just thought, after we had our daily meetings, that I'd just see what the queue was like. And it was at 29,000, I think, when I logged in. So that was pretty cool, I think. And then I just left it open on my desk. I charged the phone in and I just started work. And every now and again, I'd look down to see where I was at. So the process did appear to work well. It still didn't stop demand from outstripping the number of places available, and the half marathon sold out, I believe, in about 2.5 hours. And by the end of the day, the marathon was gone ski as well. So it was interesting because I was on queue when the notice came through, and they were giving us notices on the queue on either the web page or on your phone. And the minute they said the Gold Coast half was sold out, the queue sort of dropped. So I would imagine that there would have been a number of people wanting to register for the half that just said, oh my God, it's sold out now. The Gold Coast Marathon organisers have set up a race entry transfer process, which is one of the positive things that Gold Coast do, where sellers will be able to sell their entries in a safe and secure environment online, away from the scammers. So if anyone reaches out to you on any of the Facebook groups or to you individually, who is not part of the official Gold Coast and the Gold Coast Marathon organisation, or if indeed they tell you they are from the Gold Coast Marathon organisation and try and sell you, it's probably best to go to the webpage and do it through through the portal. So transfers will only be available to occur via the portal, and the portal will only be open from 24th of March to 24th of May 2026. Interesting. All payment exchanges must be made via the official portal. So as per last few years, you've got to be online and queued up at 9 a.m. to have any chance of getting into the half or the marathon. So very quickly around the grounds, we'll start with Luch. How did you go?
I was one of the fortunate ones. I had early access, so I was all done over the weekend. So I'm only doing the double this year, but I did help a friend of the podcast, Victoria, because she was on her desktop. I was on the mobile, but I was like 5,000 places ahead of her. So I got her into the marathon and the 5K.
Can I just clarify? Only the half this year.
No, sorry, the full. She wanted to do the half.
Oh, sorry, only the double this year is what you said. Sorry, that's
because I may have learnt my lesson from this year. But one thing they did really well, you didn't. If you wanted to enter another race, you could do it all in one go. You didn't have to put in
back to the queue
again. And just for any of our listeners that are doing the double, you don't need to register separately. As long as you finish the half and the full, and it's the same rego details, you automatically do the challenge, just in case if anyone out there was wondering.
Are only doing the double. If any of our listeners are only doing the double, that's all right. Tim, I know you had to line up and queue up for Patrick.
I lined up for our son Patrick. He wants to do the double next year, so he's setting himself the challenge to do it. Tara and I had early access via another link that we had been provided as a almost legend status runners. So thank you, Gold Coast Marathon, for that. But I actually found the experience good, even though it was a time-consuming process. Yes, it took 2 hours from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock before I could get into the portal, and I had only 11,900 people in front of me when I got into the queue.
Wow.
I found it actually pretty good, and it was smooth. Yes, people are always going to complain because they run out of spots before you get to there, but the system didn't crash like it's done in previous years. It was orderly. You could see the countdown clock every minute or so. It would knock another couple of hundred off the countdown clock. I found it quite good. Should they go to a ballot in the next year or two? I don't know. I think that process is fair, just as fair as a ballot. You get into the queue and you wait your turn. I didn't have any issues with it this year. I think it was actually a lot better this year than past years.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting in the coming years as to what happens with all these marathons, whether they do all go to ballots. But, one thing I think we've all got to be, when I say all, it's like the running community. Will there come a time, because we've had running spurts or running what they call jogging fads back in the 80s, where everyone was out there jogging and then all of a sudden it died away. So there's been parts of our history where running's been popular, and we are in the midst of one of those huge areas where running is just, as we talked about last week, become compulsive for so many people. But the challenge is, if ever that starts to die away, a lot of these races still need to have face and integrity in what they do. So I'm with you, Tim. I thought the ballot system, not the ballot system, I thought the number system, the queue system worked pretty effectively. And if you wanted to run the marathon or the half, you're there at 9 o'clock, and it's not unknown to people right around the world, I guess. So.
Yeah.
All right, we had Valencia run on the weekend as well, and Valencia Marathon, as we know, is a very, very fast marathon. We've had some amazing results, to be honest, out of Valencia. The men's race was won by John Cora from Kenya. He was in 2:02:25, which I'm guessing is pretty close to one of those fastest times we've seen this year. While Joyceline Jepkosgei from Kenya, see how that name just rolled off the tongue then? That's how you do it, Jepkosgei. You say it with confidence, and even if I've said that wrong, it still sounded good. So they took down the course record in the women's race, running it in 2 hours and 14 flat. But what was really exciting about it was our Aussie girls did exceptionally well. Jess Stenson came 5th overall in a new Aussie record of 2:21:25. Awesome to see, followed closely by Izzy Batdall in 7th in 2:23:35, and then back in 20. I shouldn't say back in 20-second place. We had Genevieve Gregson in 2:28. So I don't know what our Aussie girls are doing, but I was so impressed by that. Top 5 in a major. Well, it's one of the fastest marathons around. That was awesome. So, thoughts, Luch, on the women?
Absolute cracker. And to see Jess break the record was just absolutely fantastic, because seeing the social media posts of all three of the ladies, there's such a close-knit group, and they were all celebrating, because there was a picture that I think Sinead Diver posted that literally after the race, I don't know who called who, but just see the emotion in Sinead's face of Jess breaking the record was just absolutely brilliant. So it goes to show that it's more than them being competitors; they are friends as well.
Yeah. And I noticed our friend from a previous episode, Alice Bequee, was there as well. So I didn't look up her results, but I
She
knew
went
that
sub-3.
Sub-3. So same training pattern as last time.
Yep.
Nothing over a 10.
Yep, and I think not running on consecutive days as well.
Ah, that's awesome. Changing the face of running training. In the men, I know Lucia loves this. Thomas DeCanto, 2:11:14. I think he was in the 70s in the placing.
Yeah, I think either 71st or 77th.
Yeah.
So first Aussie male across the line. He does a lot of training in Centennial Park as well. And the one thing I like about Thomas, he's not a full-time athlete.
Yeah.
He works as a podiatrist, has a young family, and he's so dedicated to his family. So to see him do so well, it's just absolutely brilliant. And he's such a humble guy. And the fact that he beat a lot of the pro athletes as well. So he beat Ryan Gregson. Brett Robinson was another DNF.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen anything as to why.
And Andy Buchanan was a late pullout, wasn't he? A late withdrawal. So he was aiming for Valencia this year. What was that, Tim? Sorry.
Brett Robinson, he's had a DNF in the last couple of marathons he's done, I think, if you look back. So a bit of a worry.
Yeah. Him and Andy have suddenly started to pick up some injuries, unfortunately. So the other Aussie I just wanted to quickly talk about in the men, Haftu Strinzos. Was he the one who went really well in Sydney?
I think so.
Yeah, so 2:26:20, which was a little behind what he did there in Sydney. So it sounds like maybe Haftu had a tough day out there on the course. So, and when I say tough, in relative terms to how he's run before, but just a couple of stats out of Valencia, because I shared on a previous Out and Back episode how fast Amsterdam was as a course, and it's known as a PB course. But the reality is Valencia is a quick course and it's a PB course. And it's interesting when you look at the stats. In Amsterdam, if you ran a 6-hour marathon, you would be beating 1% or less than 1% of the population home. I think the 6-hour mark was about the 99.1% of the field. So that's 0.9% of the field. In Valencia, the first 6-hour runner placed 30,545 and beat just 24 people home. So that they were 99.92%. So that means they only beat 0.08% of the field home. The first 5-hour runner came 29,065. So they beat just 4.5% of the runners home. And staggeringly, 5,669 runners in that field ran a sub-3. So I wonder if they had jackets, and I wonder if they still had jackets to give to everyone.
That's just crazy. How many?
5,669.
Wow.
And that's 18.5% of the field ran a sub-3.
That's crazy.
I know you want to run Valencia, Tim, and it would be a lovely course, but I reckon as a back-of-the-pack runner and even someone running about 5 hours, it's a pretty lonely experience potentially. So
I would say so, but it looks stunning. It looks quick. It has huge spectator crowds. It's got everything you would see and feel in a major marathon in a big city. What's there not to like about it, apart from that everyone runs past you and leaves you alone at the back? But
You just wouldn't be able to run that one with me, Tim.
Yeah.
You'd have to run that one by yourself if you wanted a good
We'll
time.
run it with you. We'll run it with you.
All right,
Wonderful.
and just the last piece of news before I hand it back to Tim. They World Athletic Awards, they had their annual awards, and we saw some great recognition of two Aussies. Australian high jumper Nicola Ollie Sluggers has been named the World Field Athlete of the Year, and is only the second Aussie athlete in history to receive a World Athlete of the Year award. The other was Sally Pearson back in 2011. But also Bruce McAvaney won the President's Award, which recognises and honours exceptional service to athletes and athletics. And I think both of them obviously well-deserved. Awesome news for Australian athletics. And I'm sorry I've taken up too much of your time, but that's the news for the week.
Thanks, Tony. It's good. It's good to hear the news, and it's it's something that's I think our listeners like hearing and being kept up to date as well. So with that, we're now going to talk about our first times running marathon distance. So I'm going to ask a few questions, and we'll just pass it around and see how we go. So I might start with you first, Tara. What was the trigger that motivated you to, or should I say you and me, to step up to the marathon distance?
Well, the motivation that triggered me is different to the motivation that triggered you, because I pushed you into it whether you wanted to or not, unfortunately for poor Tim. But no, the trigger that motivated me is I had just run Gold Coast half marathon. I'd only run halves before then, obviously. And I'd done that as a sub-2 half marathon. And I thought to myself, if I'm ever going to run a marathon, now's the time to step it up. And I guess that was the reason why I did it. I was already in my prime, is the nicest way to put it, and figured, what have I got to lose? I had 7 weeks or 6 weeks, I think it was at that time, 6 weeks after my first half marathon to train for it, and spoke in depth with our remedial massage person, Wayno, who's been on the show before, and he was 100% for it. He said, yep, you're in prime shape, go for it. So that was my motivation. I can probably say to Tim that he had no choice. He was just motivated because I signed him up for it. So he can probably tell his own story, but
Just a correction, it wasn't after your first half marathon. Your first half marathon was in 2015.
Oh, sorry, that wasn't my first half marathon. It was my first half marathon that I'd done a sub-2 in.
Correct.
Sorry,
Yep.
yes.
Cool. And Tony, what was your motivation to step up? I've heard this story. I know our listeners have heard some of this story before, but what was the motivation for you to step up?
I like the concept of stepping up to the marathon distance, because we did not step up to it. We just went to the marathon distance. So long story short, Sharon was the trigger. She was motivated by a friend at work who was doing lots and lots of running. And so therefore Sharon started doing some running. Back in the days when we traveled around the world without having a race to go to, I would film Sharon doing an iconic run like on the Golden Gate Bridge at San Francisco. She would send it to her friend who's inspired her, and it was all a bit of fun until Sharon said, what do you think about running the New York Marathon? To which I said, yeah, right. We had family in Brooklyn that sent us videos of what it was like in 2017. So next minute I knew we were signed up through our friends at Traveling Fit, and I had to start training. So that was the trigger. So that's Sharon. I'll blame Sharon.
And Lucia, what was your trigger?
Well, I'd started running as part of a weight loss journey, and I'm like, oh, yeah. So I started doing 5K, 10Ks, and then I'd signed up for my first half, and then I'm like, oh, marathon can't be too hard, so I might as well put my hat in the ring for Paris and London, which I'll get into in a few questions. So I'm like, oh, why not give it a crack? It can't be that hard. So it was just, and I thought, if I want to do something as crazy as a marathon, why not do it somewhere beautiful like Paris?
There you go. And my trigger was Tara told me I had to do it. So I did. So I guess I know we've all talked about this in the past, but quickly, guys, where was your very first marathon? Mine was where Tara ran hers. So Tara, where was it?
Sunshine Coast, and it was Sunshine Coast because it was the next marathon after the Gold Coast. So that's the reason why we picked Sunshine Coast. It was close, and yeah, that was the reason.
Yeah. And that was in 2017.
2017? Yeah,
Yes.
I'll take your word for it.
It was. And Tony, you've said it already.
Yeah, it was New York. And why did we choose New York? Because I thought if I was going to run a marathon, I really had no choice in running New York, but it almost felt like if we're going to run a marathon, we're going to make it the biggest marathon in the world. And that's, I guess, one of those things. We just saw the excitement of New York. We saw the crowds from the video from our family that were in Brooklyn at the time. And we just said, yeah, that's it. If we're going to run a marathon, let's run New York.
Yeah. And Lucia?
So it was Paris in 2015 because I'd applied for both the Paris and London because I didn't realise how hard it was to get into London. I'm like, oh, I'll do London. Yeah, no, easy done. Yeah, didn't get into London. And then I had my payment taken for Paris. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm doing Paris then. So, yeah, Paris in 2015.
Well, it was probably easier to get into London in 2015 than it is now through the ballot. So is that the start of your 10 years of rejections or whatever it's been?
Yes.
Cool. All right, and Tara, you alluded to it, but for everyone else, what was the sort of timeframes you set yourself from a training perspective? Was it days, weeks, months, years? I'll start again. Tara, you've sort of alluded to it. It was 7 weeks, but
yeah, I think it was about 7 weeks. Look, we'd run many half marathons before that, and Tim had always said, "I'm never running a marathon." But as I said, I'd finally got to the peak of my half marathons, and I was really happy with where I was. So yeah, we had 7 weeks to step up to double the distance, and didn't regret it at all. No injuries, no problems.
Yep, no ChatGPT either back then.
No pre-week.
No pre-week.
No pre-week.
Yeah, I think we would have had most of 2018. So I'm sure as it flowed, as New York finished in 2017, space opened up for 2018 with Traveling Fit. We would have been registered prior to Christmas that year, 2017. So we had much of 2018 to work through what we were doing. So pretty close to a year we had.
Okay. And Lucia?
For me, probably not. It wasn't long into my more serious running journey. So I'd done Melbourne half marathon in October, and then I pretty much started training not long after that. So, and Paris was April, so let's say maybe about 4 months.
Okay. So 4 months, a year, 7 weeks. It's all variable, but again, it comes back to where you're at in your running at that time. So once you decided to step up, what was the thought process you had around training? Did you sort of do any research around training plans? Did you decide just to wing it and go your own way? Did you listen to other people and get advice from them? Tara, again, starting with you, what was your plan?
I didn't have a plan. I just wanted to finish. I really did not have a plan. I sort of left that to you. I decided to do the crazy ideas, and I leave it up to you to work out how the rest of it works. So I think you're probably better off answering that one because, yeah, I'm just the ideas person. You sort out the finer details.
Okay, I'll come back to me. Tony.
I did not have a plan. I had no idea, and I thought I knew the best way to do it would be just to simply add a kilometer every week, because I thought, well, here we are. We've got almost like 50 weeks. If I start at, say, 4, by the time I get to the marathon, I'll be ready to go. That's not good, people. So if you think that could work, no, it doesn't. But yeah, I had no idea. I did no research. We just started running.
Yeah. And Lucia?
I had joined the run club a few months before, and I was talking with the coach at the time, and she helped me out. She just did a really rough plan to kind of get me through Paris. So I had a semi-framework to go off by, but as we know, and as our listeners know, I don't necessarily always listen to the plan, but in theory, I did have one.
Yeah, and to my Nikki, our massage therapist, who we've had on the show when we talked about Paris last year at the Olympics, she tried to give us a plan, but of course I knew better. So
For us in ours, so I had a mindset that I needed to get as close to the distance of 42.2 kilometers as I could in my training to give me some mental confidence that I could make that distance. So for me, I trained right up to 39.5 kilometers or something 2 weeks out from the marathon. I think, Tara, I think you got to about 30 Ks or 32 Ks in your total distance. But for us, because we only had 7 or 8 weeks and we'd just come off Gold Coast Marathon, it was all about, all right, we did half a marathon, let's get to 25 Ks in the first long run. And then it was about, let's get to 30 Ks, let's get to 32 Ks. So I think from memory, it was...
I think I only got to 30. Everything after 30 was brand new to me on marathon day.
Yeah, so I'd gone a bit further. I'd gone right up to 39.5 or 6 or whatever it was. But yeah, it was about just adding extra distance for us and largely just winging it on the day. We didn't have any advice. We didn't tell anyone that we were doing it apart from Wayne, our massage guy, and our podiatrist as well, Nick. But no one else knew about it, including those on race day who saw us there and didn't even see our bibs until the last minute when we took off our warm-up jackets. So it was very quiet. We didn't want advice from other people. We just wanted to do it our own way. I guess having had some experience in the past with swimming and elite swimming that I did when I was a child, I sort of used, a lot of the philosophy there around getting the bulk into the body and a bit of muscle memory. So that was sort of the philosophy I had, and Tara sort of closely followed behind. The next question is, now, once you get into that training program, along the way, there's always going to be some ups and downs. And I guess we ask this of our guests when we have them on the show, and I guess it's relevant here. When you're going into your first training program for a marathon, you're going to get those downs as well as ups. So what do you learn about yourself through that training period? And I'll start again with you, Tara. Did you learn anything about yourself during that period?
Yeah, I learned that I'm really stupid for making ideas and making decisions based on what I can do in a half marathon. That's what I learned on that one. I also learned that running long distances is really, really hard. Like, it's mentally hard. It doesn't matter what your body can do mentally. It's really exhausting. So that was when I really learned what hard work was.
Yep. And Tony?
I learned how dodgy calves can be if you don't look after them. And I also learned that trying to increase your distance by 1 kilometre every week until you ran 42 was pretty dumb. But there came a stage towards the end, and once again, I think I've shared this, is that I was coming into the New York Marathon after tearing my calf at could have been the Gold Coast, or it might have been the half at Sunshine Coast. So we'd done a number of different halves along the journey. And I really, 3 weeks before the marathon start, I was not training. But I just knew that if I could get over the bridge, the first 2-3K of the marathon, that I was going to be right. Because part of me was saying, I'm not going to make it over the bridge. So, and I was relatively okay with that. But I guess I learned that what I was learning through that process is that I was starting to visualize where I was and what I was going to do. So, yes, I learned my calves are dodgy, but I also learned that I can effectively run on a torn calf. I just need to be very flat-footed and change my style into a shuffle. So.
Yeah. And Lucia?
I think for me, probably one of the biggest takeaways was how much training for a marathon can take over your life. Like, it changes your social life, changes everything you do. So that was probably one of the big things. And the other big thing was that it proved that I can do hard things, because really up until I started training for Paris, I would only do smaller runs, but it really shows the true grit and determination of someone, when you realize, oh no, do you know what? I can actually do it. But I think part of that was the stubborn side of me, which I know shocks people when I say that, but I want to prove people wrong as well. So I was determined to put in the work and make sure I get over that finish line.
Yep. And you learn all those things plus more. I guess for me, I learned that after coming off a very fast Gold Coast, I think I ran 1 hour 35 or 1 hour 37 or something for the half marathon, that I can't train at that pace for a marathon and expect to last the full distance. And I think I learned that through my training as well, that if I sort of expected, if I run that pace for a half, I can run that for 25. If I can run it for 25, I can run it for 30 the following week. If I can run it for 30, I can run it for 32 the following week, whatever. And it doesn't work that way. You need a different strategy when it comes to pacing and training when it comes to marathons. And exactly as you guys have said as well, it's the time consuming and the effort that goes into marathon training. It's not a 2 hour run or a 1.5 hour run on a Sunday that you would normally do for a half marathon. All of a sudden the long runs are 3 and 4 hours of continuous running and movement. You don't sort of get a chance to stop. So it is a whole nother level, but at the same time, it's quite exciting when you see the results at the end. So I've mentioned it. I got to 36.6 or 39.6 kilometers or thereabouts in my training. But and I think, Tara, you sort of mentioned you got to around 30 odd. Yep, 30 for you. Tony, where did you get to in your training as far as distance goes if you didn't get to 42 with 1 kilometer every week?
I think we did a number of halves during the course of the year, so I definitely know we completed a half marathon distance, but my memory's not as good as what it used to be, but I would be suggesting the longest we ran would have been about the 25.
Okay. Yep. And Lucia?
I think from memory, I think I got up to, it was either 34 or 38.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, were you like me trying to prove to yourself that you can get there or thereabouts?
Yeah, because I think mentally I'm like, I had to get a big one in my head just so I could know that I could do it on race day.
Yeah. And that was the same for me. When I got to 39 Ks, it was like, okay, I've only got 3 Ks. Even if I collapse at this point, I've only got 3 Ks. I can crawl if I have to the last 3 Ks to get over the finish line. But for me, that was mentally very important, just to get me some comfort that I could run that distance and not fall apart or collapse. So, yeah, there's an important part of that. And I guess it's one thing for our listeners to understand is you've got to come up with your own training plan and your own way to beat those issues that are coming through your head. But don't be scared if you do run a bit extra. I know some people say they only run half marathon distance ever, up to a half marathon. Some run 25 Ks like Tony did. Some run 30 Ks like Tara, or 34 or 38 or something like me. Whatever you need to do, as long as you do it right. But it's about getting that confidence that you need, I think, and that's a big part of it, right?
Yeah, look, Tim, my memory did come back to me. Sharon and I in that first year, we did the long bloody walk, the one that starts out at Shorncliffe area and comes into town, which is 35K. So that was definitely the longest, and that's the first time I ever saw my inner sook come out, because I just sooked. Once we got to 21K or got to halfway, I just sooked. But I also realized what I learned from that was the importance of shoes, because my shoes were just shoes I picked up at a discount somewhere, and they were horrible, and they just lost everything during that walk run that we did that particular time. So, yeah, 35.
Yep. All right. And speaking of, I was just mentioning the mental aspect to it, but did any of you guys ever have any sort of trepidation or nerves before the race about not making the distance? Tara?
No. I'm just one of these people that I'm really stupid. I just go, I can do that, and just go and do it. And even if I can't do it, don't even think that I can't do it. I just attempt to do it. So I am a little bit stupid in that way. When the crazy switch gets put on, it stays on, and I just don't. I sort of have blinkers on about this, nerves and stuff like that. I never ever think that I can't finish something that I've started, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but no trepidation, no concerns. My crazy switch is on.
Tony?
I knew it was going to be hard, and I wasn't confident that I'd get over the bridge, as I said. but I think there was also a calmness about me because of the inner sook scenario with the long bloody walk. I knew that I could, worst case scenario, walk the thing. So, so I think there was a sense of calm in me that I would do it because I wanted to experience it, but I was just concerned. Once I got over the bridge, I don't think there was any issue. I knew that we were going to get it done, but it was just that first 3K running with a torn calf was going to be my challenge. But yeah, I think there was a calmness around me that said, oh, we'll get it done.
Yep. That's nice. Good calmness is good. And Lucia?
I didn't feel that I couldn't do it, but what happened was, so Paris was April 2015. And in January of that year, I'm not sure if any of you guys remember, but there was a terrorist attack in Paris at the Charlie Hebdo offices. So I had a lot of people say to me, don't go, it's not safe, it's not safe. And I'm like, unless the Australian government says don't travel to France, I was still going. So in that aspect, that was probably the only thing that would have stopped me. But mentally and physically, I was all guns blazing because I wanted to prove people wrong. Because a lot of people said, oh, no, you won't do it. You won't do it. So I knew I'd get it done. But whether or not I got there, and because of the attacks, was a different story.
Yeah. I had nerves. I had concerns. I wouldn't make the distance, even though I got to those sort of distances in my training. I guess for me, I'm a person who likes to control the known things, and I tried to control everything I could control, but there was so many unknowns, race day is different. Is my stomach going to work? Is the fuel going to work? Is the pace going to be at the pace I want it to be at? All those nerves, they're all normal. I still get them now on races as well. They don't stop, but I still got through it all. So, all right, then it comes to race day. So I know we're starting to run out of time, and I know we've talked a little bit about our race days before. So in just a few minutes, Tara, how was your race day in 2017 at Sunshine Coast?
It was amazing. I met SJ, who's been on our show before. She's run, I think, nearly over 200 marathons now, same age as me. I met her there. It was her 66 marathon, my first marathon, and maybe that's why I didn't have nerves, but she guided me through it, told me when to eat, when to drink, how to fuel, and how to cool myself down. And I made a really good lifelong friend out of that. So it was the perfect marathon. I wish I could recreate that every single marathon.
There you go. Perfect, hey? Not even the ones when I run with you.
They're always perfect when I run with you as well, but yeah, I think the first marathon is always a special marathon too. I do remember crying as I finished and going over the finish line, just go, oh my God, I've just run 42.2 kilometers. So it's very emotional.
Yeah. And Tony, how was it for you on race day, apart from getting up over the bridge?
Yeah, like it was just exciting. As you know, when you're doing New York, you get there very early, and it was just so cool to be part of it. Nervous, anxious a little bit, but it was just really awesome and to be part of the village precinct. And then the race just got better. You're running through Brooklyn, and it was just awesome. And Sharon led the way, and she was in charge, and I just followed like a dutiful husband that I am. And so it was good. I really enjoyed it. So yeah.
And Lucia?
I won't forget one thing particular with Paris. A friend at work, she'd sent me this article maybe about a week or so before Paris, about people urinating in the starting corrals in Paris. I'm like, oh, Claire, that's not going to happen. I won't see it. Lo and behold, I'm in my starting corral, and I'm seeing a lady in the one in front of me urinate right there on the sidewalk. I'm like, welcome to Paris. So that's one. And the other thing I'll never forget was a lady that was around me. She had bright red lipstick on. I'm like, you want to look good for your photo. So certain things I remember about Paris, and those are the two key ones. But it was a beautiful, beautiful course, great sightseeing tour. Yeah, it was. I've got some fond memories of Paris.
Yeah. And for me, Sunny Coast 2017, very fond memories, but at the same time, it didn't go to the plan that I had in my head. And I think that's where plan A fell out the window, around about 25 Ks. I was feeling so good in those first 25 Ks. that no matter what pace I was doing, it was always too fast and way much faster than what I'd planned to do and what I'd done in my training. And of course, I felt good, so I just kept going and feeling better, and I kept trying to slow myself down and kept getting quicker and quicker. By 25 Ks, I just had to fall off the pace quite a bit, but was able to still bring it home. And by, I think, it's 3 loops that course, or it was at that stage, Tara, and I think you saw me when I'd hit about 40 Ks or thereabouts. And you said I looked like death at that point. And you're going out and you're at about 32 or 30 Ks or something at that point. So, it comes up and bites you, the old marathon, and that's what I think happened to me on that one. I still ran the fastest ever marathon time I've ever run out of the 21 marathons I've ever done. But, it does come up and bite you, doesn't it? All right, last couple of questions quickly, guys. Tara, you mentioned it. Tears at the finish line. I had tears as well. That's just the emotions coming out from the journey that it's been, I presume, for you, Tara.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just amazing. It was a fantastic day, and I think it was pride as well, or amazement to myself, going, oh my God, I've just run 42.2 Ks. It's a feeling you can't replicate, and I think I don't want to compare it to something as momentous as giving birth to our children, but it was that sort of feeling where you've just achieved what feels like something no one else has done, even though other people have done it before. So yes.
Yeah. Tony?
Tears for you? Yeah, no tears. I was being shouted at by Sharon as we crossed the finish line because I had the phone in the wrong hand, and it's an awkward finish shot because I'm holding her hand while I've got the phone. So gratitude for what we did. I think that's pretty amazing, and I never thought that I was going to do another one, but it was just gratitude. And it was, I say I was being shouted at. It was a little bit of fun because I couldn't even get the finish right. So, but anyway.
Sharon does listen to these episodes, don't you?
Yeah, I do. It's nothing I don't talk about often with her anyway. So all good.
And Lucia, were there tears for you?
I think for me it was a sense of relief because I was in pain. My feet were killing me. So sense of relief, I'm like, yes, I've done it. I can prove everyone wrong, but also thinking, thank God it's over and I'm never doing it again. I remember saying those words clearly, never happening, never doing another marathon again. Well, that didn't last long, did it?
And a couple of days later, you no doubt signed up for a dopey challenge or something ridiculous.
A few months later, I signed up for New York.
There you go, New York. There you go. All right, and very quickly, guys, our final question. If you had to do it all over again, what would be one thing that you would do different? Tara?
I wouldn't do anything different at all. Nothing at all different on my very first marathon. As I said to you, to me, it was a perfect day. So, yeah, nothing different. Yep. That was actually the one marathon where I didn't get an upset stomach, didn't want to vomit, didn't want to have any heart issues. It was just not over hot. It was just perfect. Yep.
It was a perfect day. Tony?
I'd probably do everything different. So get some advice, get some training, listen to Nikki, my massage therapist, on what was required. I would do so much different in terms of training for the marathon. In terms of the marathon day, to me, I've got such fond memories of that first marathon that, I would have liked to have gone quicker, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's my first marathon, which got me hooked on doing marathons. So, yes, I would have changed the way I trained for it and the way that we trained for it. And I would have reached out and potentially talked about a lot of the things that we talk about on our episodes nowadays. But, yeah, I would change a lot, Tim.
Yep. And Lucia?
I would change a bit too because I can admit I didn't respect the distance. I would train a lot better for it because I don't think I trained as well as I could have.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, my thing that I would change would be to slow down at the start for the first 25 Ks. The race, as we know, doesn't really start until 25 to 30 Ks in the race. And I'd gone out and raced my entire race in the first 25 Ks, and that's why I blew up so much in the last bit of the race. So That's my lesson, and I guess that's some thoughts of advice on our very first marathons from 4 very experienced runners who've run all around the world, and between us have got close to 100 marathons completed between us all. So that's where we're going to wrap it up today. But before we start to wrap it up fully, I'm going to go to Lucia for Lucia's tip of the week.
Lucia's tip, it stays in my ear. One step closer, the path grows clear. Tim's advice fades like a fleeting breeze. Lucia's wisdom puts my soul at ease.
Lucia, what's your tip this week?
Well, I know everyone's glad that I'm giving the tip this week. So what I thought I'd do is just a few things that I wish I knew when it was my first marathon. As the saying goes, nothing new on race day. I made the mistake in Paris for breakfast. I had peanut butter on toast. Never done that. I thought it was a good idea. And needless to say, I paid for that on race day. I had a stitch from like 10Ks for a while. So nothing new race day. Respect the distance. Because people go on about that a lot. But the marathon, it needs to be respected because there's so much which goes into it. And I didn't do that for my first one. And I learned that also very quickly. Thirdly, use your training runs to try different things that you would do on race day. So with your nutrition, what liquids are you going to take? Planning your outfit, running in your race day outfit prior to actual race day. That's what training is for, and I didn't do that. So just nothing new race day, and respect the distance. Use the training to test things out. And that's my tip for the week.
Excellent. Some very wise words of advice there, Lucia. So I agree with that wholeheartedly. Now, thank you very much for that. Now, this episode is about to end, but before we do that, Tara, what is on next week's show?
Excellent. Thanks, Tim. So Christmas is coming up really, really fast. So on the next episode, we're going to be celebrating my favourite time of the year, which is obviously Christmas. So we'll talk about the things that we'd love to see under the tree this year, as well as talk about what running we will be doing over the holiday period. We'll share our tips and tricks to get Christmas Day running, and as well we will provide some information on how to survive the summertime heat. And as we keep saying, we are the only podcast with 4 7-star world major marathoners, and as usual it will be another great episode and definitely not one to be missed.
Thanks, Tara. That's it for this week's show, everybody. It's been another fun one. Hopefully we've been able to provide some inspiration for people out there to either step up to the marathon distance or be so scared to never, ever step up to the distance, but maybe step up to a half marathon or a 10K or whatever your personal marathon distance is. We hope we can do that for you. So, guys, thank you very much for joining me this week. We love making this podcast for our listeners. Let us know what you think by sending us a message, maybe sending us a message about your first time marathon experience and some of the things you learnt by doing a marathon as a first timer. We'd love to hear all about it. You can watch this episode on Spotify and on YouTube, or listen to us on Apple, Amazon, and all major podcast platforms. Every step counts. Keep running, and we'll see you next time on the Flying Runr Podcast. Happy running.
Happy running.
Happy running.
Teach the flying runner, run far, run free. Host the 7 stars, inclusive as can be.